Hello. I, can we please close the gate? There's a lot of noise coming in. So good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. And I'm not a last minute add-on. I'm a moderator of this session, so somehow my chair and the name tag is missed. So I'm just like giving you a disclaimer that I'm not a add-on, last minute add-on. So yeah, that's why it's a bit different. But thank you everyone for being here. It's a obviously very interesting and overwhelming, I would say, event right now, and you are here for our session. So thank you very much. Thanks to India AI Mission for extending all the support. My name is Dr. Manoj Bharadwaj. I am a founding faculty member and head of ESG Carbon Markets and Sustainability, and also head of Executive Education at Dhirubhai Ambani University School of Law, Gujarat. We have a very interesting panel, and we have a topic which is very close to the heart of people sitting here. We have our friends from Israel, thanks to the Embassy of Israel in India for bringing in the experts from directly from Israel. We have Ms. Sarit Felber with us, who is the Senior Director, Office of Legal Counsel and Legislative Affairs, Ministry of Justice, Israel. Welcome, Sarit. We have Professor Victor with us, who is the director at AI Center, Volcani Institute, Government of Israel. Welcome, Professor Victor. We have Ms. Aisha Peoti, Managing Partner, Reg Horizon, and Head of AI Policy Summit at ETH Zurich. Welcome, Aisha. We have with us my good friend, Maya Sharma, who is innovation. And I think almost everyone knows when it comes to AI in India that Maya is the face of AI and she's everywhere. So Maya, we have a we are very happy to have you here. It's a pleasure to have you here. We have with us our mentor and guide, Professor Dr. Avinash Tadich, who is the founding director of School of Law, Dhirubhai Ambani University, Gandhinagar. We have with us my colleague, Professor Dr. Vinny Singh, who is the head of AI tech vertical at our law school. So we have a very comprehensive panel, and I think we'll bring in more and more perspectives on how AI and ESG balance together. Usually, I don't prepare notes, but since it's a very formal setting and we are representing India, so I've prepared my notes for this particular session. So, how many of you have heard about ESG? Just want to understand. Great, great. We have a very relevant audience. So I think when we talk about AI for ESG, the conversation often becomes abstract, ethics, governance frameworks, and global principles. But in practice, AI for ESG is about three very concrete things. And in the morning, I was on a panel of carbon markets. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about carbon markets. So there also AI is very relevant when it comes to measurement, management, and market credibility. So we talk about first measurement. Most ESG challenges begin with poor or inconsistent data, and we fall into the trap like companies will face the brunt of greenwashing. So the inconsistent data is a problem. Then AI today is already being deployed to track supply chain emission in real time, detect greenwashing through data pattern analysis, monitor deforestation and biodiversity loss, and automate ESG reporting. A lot of us know about this, that this is happening. But is it actually happening, and where the AI and ESG governance intersects, and where the regulators are using AI in a way to obviously see ESG reporting, whether it's happening properly, whether the third party verifiers have done the reporting or verifying properly. So I think AI is the tool that can help ease ESG automation, ease the ESG reporting, and also make it easy for everyone, for the investors, for the regulators, and for the other stakeholders. So second is management and risk forecasting, because AI allows firms to model climate transition risk, stress test carbon exposure under different regular scenarios, predict ESG-linked credit risk. And third is market credibility. Carbon markets, sustainable finance. फिर ऑफ हो जाएगा अगर उसके स्क्रीन टाइम नहीं बढ़ाएंगे तो technology is really failing me today. So, and third is actually credibility. So, if your ESG reporting is credible or not, I think AI can obviously help you with that. And AI will obviously enhance audit integrity, verification process, real-time compliance monitoring. So, that was actually the concept of bringing in this panel. And we've joined by, again, experts in these fields, some people from AI, someone from ESG. So also the real question comes when it comes to this panel is not how can AI support ESG, it is also how do we ensure AI itself aligned with ESG principles. I was talking one of the senior delegates from the Israel embassy that one of the biggest pollutant when it comes to like when we talk about going net zero, and we talk about AI to be a tool of helping us out. AI is itself is one of the biggest pollutants through data centers. We use technology, so not a lot of people focus on data centers because we just see it in a very abstract form. That yes, technology is there, but like you have cables in. Under the ground, you have cables in the oceans, and then data centers taking the entire, I would say, filling the carbon space. So, if I think if we get this balance right, AI for ESG and ESG for AI, AI will not just optimize sustainability reporting, but it will fundamentally reshape how sustainability is priced, regulated, and financed. And that's why we are here for this discussion, which truly makes it important. So, as we are time sensitive, I have again few questions to ask to the panelists, but let me give 4 to 5 minutes to our every panelist to give their opening remarks, and building on to that, I'll ask you a few questions, and then we'll open the round for the panel for Q&A. So, Aisha, would you like to go ahead first? Your opening remarks.
Thank you very much, and I think it's a great pleasure. So very, very nice to be here. It's fascinating. The energy is fantastic. So I'll actually talk about something which is a bit more macro, which is quite nice because I think that that will help us then to dig deeper into the ESG. So my expertise really lies with policy frameworks, AI and regulation, as you say, but also policy in general. And I thought to kick off the discussion, of course, which is about achieving responsible innovation through people, projects, as well as, of course, progress for the planet. We have to explore what is the role of policy, right? And here I think we first have to remember what is the real goal that we are trying to achieve when we are looking at policy in terms of innovation. And first and foremost, it's about mitigating risks. And why do we want to mitigate risks? Because we want to build some trust, and if we build the trust, we'll have the adoption. So that's the very first thing. The second role that policy frameworks and regulation has to really, really do, and I think more so now, is to ensure that we have fairness and equity in terms of the gains that come from these technologies and how exactly are they then distributed for all. And I think this summit very much is about that as well. And the third one, a very important one, I think, is also about creating an environment, and more so the role of policy, not just to mitigate the risks, but create an environment that is supporting local innovation. So these are the three goals. Now, the point is that when we look at that, one of the key challenges we face today is how do we do that? There's a huge question with regards to what kind of policy frameworks can we have that support innovation, and of course, then how do we interact with each other in different geographies? And here again, before we go into the answers, which I'm sure my colleagues will also talk about, some of the challenges I thought would be interesting to share here as well. And the very first one, of course, I think it's philosophical, where people think, well, regulation doesn't really align with innovation. There is a mismatch. And so, is that true? Is it not true? We will discuss that later. But what is most important is we need to still balance that in some way. The second one, which I think is extremely important then, is to understand that when we look at regulations, when we look at policy across the globe, we all have different values, we have different objectives, we have different cultures. And what does that really mean? Is that you have different focus with regards to innovation. So let's take an example. If we look at today the EU, EU really has a focus which is extremely regulatory focus when it comes to innovation. Let's have regulation will have this, trust and innovation, and they're focusing on human rights. When you look at the United States, it's very market-led innovation, very private sector-driven innovation, and the focus is on national security. When you look at China, it's very state-led, and it's very much focusing on, control. And then, of course, India, you're very much looking at inclusion and infrastructure as one of the drivers. So again, we see this different focus, and then when you're looking at policy, it becomes how do we actually combine them? And I think I will not take so much time, but one last thing I did want to say here was, which is important, is I will, when you come to the innovation versus regulation, and how do we actually balance that, I would just quickly like to say, coming from Switzerland, we are of course a very innovation-friendly country as well. And the way we look at this thing is to say we really need to move to very flexible frameworks. It's not going to be top down. It is going to be really something where we say, let's look at the laws we already have. Let's not make any new laws. Let us look at, for example, coming up with more testing, more red teaming, more regulatory frameworks. And the last thing that is extremely important is to use AI, and I think that's what you're talking about, as a tool to help us to regulate, to help us to actually come with some of the answers and use our infrastructure that we have also in Switzerland to the best in order to help us to achieve some of the goals that we have. And one more last comment, which is linking to the ESG. Today, in the policy world, there is a huge question mark around, we need more data centers, we're going to have, but it's using a lot of energy, it's using a lot of water, and there's a lot of questions now around how do we even look at that question. So saying that, I'll stop it here, and I'm sure other people will have things to say, and then looking forward to continue the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aisha, for the opening remarks, and thank you very much for abiding by the time limit. May I now invite Sangeet to share her opening remarks, and you come from leadership justice. So how do you look from I would say, from a government perspective, that how I would say climate compliance or like social compliance or like overall ESG compliance, how AI fits into it. So
So, first of all, thank you for inviting us to this important panel with this distinguished guests, and thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. First, I want to say that I don't need to speak much because Aisha said a lot of things that I agree with. I think there's a great question with every technological innovation that came into the world in the last 50 years. It comes with a set of philosophical and practical questions. The internet changed a lot about the way how we communicate, how we consume. Transportation before that impacted the environment and so on. I don't think AI resembles these technological revolutions, but it's not something new that the technology entered our life, and we have to think of how it changes it. Does it change the law? And at the end of the day, I think there's a question for, I'm a governmental lawyer, I'm not a policymaker, but policymaker will have to decide how do they balance different values. There's, as Aisha said, there's innovation, and people think that regulation perhaps stifle innovation. But regulation also prevents risks. So you have to manage these risks, and you have to decide where the right point is. It's not necessarily a legal question, it's a question of values and priority. And AI will come and will impact the environment, and it will impact human rights. And we all have to decide, and policymakers will have to decide where they're drawing the line. The work of a lawyer is very much to balance between different interests, different rights. And I think AI will demand of us to do so. I don't think that in the very near future, but definitely in a year or two. But there's a big question of when do we report. The European did it quite fast, you can say, and time will say whether it was right. And they focused on a specific thing. They wanted to make sure that these products or services made by AI and influenced by AI are safe and trustworthy, which are noble causes, but there's also the question of environment, and there's the question of the impact of the labor market. And I think these are as important questions and urgent questions that we will have to address. Now, the Israeli government is very much, some of you, am I on time? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now, I would say that I think there are similarities between, we're a much smaller country than India, but there are similarities in the terms of the importance that we give to innovation, for our economy, mainly for our economy. And so the question of regulating technology is a question of not just a theoretical or philosophical one for us. It's about jobs, it's about the safety of our country and our ability to sustain our economy. So that's in a nutshell. I hope it answers the question.
Thank you, Shreya, for your opening remarks and sharing your perspective. Now let me bring in Professor Victor, coming from Volcani Institute in Israel, which is focused into agriculture and more broadly to the sustainability ecosystem framework. So, what are your opening remarks on this issue?
Thank you very much. I would like to bring a totally different perspective of what we've heard here until now. We heard about the macro, and I'm going into the micro. I'm coming from agricultural research. I'm a scientist, I'm a researcher, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a policymaker, I'm not, I don't know. Yeah. And I'm looking at the ECG. It's like an abbreviation here, but it's environmental sustainability. Do we know what is environmental sustainability? Do we know from the agricultural point of view, of course? I'm not going to the agriculture now. There are a lot of people who say that agriculture is the most polluting discipline in the planet, and because of the pollution that agriculture brings, then we have this non-sustainable way of having our planet. So when we want to bring sustainability into agriculture and environmental sustainability, usually what we have in mind and what we see in our vision is people who do not really over-fertilize because they pollutes the groundwater, do not spray chemicals, fertilizers, not spray herbicides and pesticides because they pollute. And the first and the direct result of that is that the yield reduces by 20 to 70%. And then from the other side, we have the food safety. We have to keep the planet safe in terms of food, to supply food to the population, which gets larger and larger. So sustainability in the conventional way of agriculture, of not applying too much, not spraying, not polluting, and on the other hand, keeping the food safety aspect in mind is not vital, does not work. So do they contradict those two? Do we really have to risk the food safety of the planet if we want to have an environmental sustainability in agriculture? And of course, I wouldn't sit here if the answer was yes. The answer is no. We do not have to compromise, because there are tools that we can use in order to overcome this conventional sustainability approach and use what else? AI tools in order to do the things in a better way. And I'm not going here to talk about all the tools that they are present and that we can use in order to improve sustainability, but just as an example, the vision and the motivation and the definition of modern agricultural practices like digital agriculture, precision agriculture, the first thing that they define is to have a sustainable management strategy. And sustainability is built within those high technology management strategies that they are used in order to get to the food safety to all the planet. So we can use AI tools from the sensing to find what we have to do and not do things that they are average and not applicable to the whole fields. We can use AI tools to detect diseases, early detection of diseases. We can use AI tools in order to detect what is the soil, what are the soil properties, what are the things that they exist, and those are tools that are not similar to the LLMs that we use every day in our phones. Those are Gen AI and other AI tools that they are more advanced or different type of tools. The second type is the type of advice to farmers. Can we give advice to farmers according to what we know with AI systems? And here again, in order to be sustainable, we have to be robust, we have to be general, and there are no such really systems in agriculture today. And not because the algorithms of AI cannot do that, but we cannot train those systems in a sustainable and real way today. So we have a lack of data that we need to acquire and to train those systems. So sustainability and environmental sustainability can be achieved in agriculture with the AI tools that we know that exist, but we have to improve them, we have to develop them, and it takes much more time than any other discipline. But it's possible, and this is the promise for food security in the future.
Thank you very much, Mr. Victor. We are bringing food security into the overall sustainability agenda. I think even in the ESG space, I can relate food security to the E part and also the S part. It will take a lot of time for me to relate that, but thank you very much. That how AI can also help ensure food security and overall, I would say, uh, they take the sustainability agenda forward. As Maya has to leave for a second panel in some time, so Maya, why don't you go ahead and share your remarks?
Surely. First of all, on behalf of the embassy, it's wonderful to partner with Durbani Ambani University. Thank you for all the work you've been doing for the ecosystem. Also grateful to be here with the wonderful panelists. I think that in many ways, ESG and AI have brought something quite similar, which is the fact that we are trying to do some interdisciplinary work across domain that we want to fulfill some promises. Think on what ESG kind of made. In the end, it brought people who are trying to deal with environment, social aspects, ethics, and governance into one table to be able to hold to this promise. AI is almost in a similar vertical. We're now trying to use AI in so many domains because we're trying to find a way in which we're connecting teams. I mean, think, for instance, on this panel alone, you have wonderful practitioners from the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Agriculture, and there is something in common, and it's the fact that we're trying to use innovation in data in a way that we're able to fulfill certain standards. Now, ESG came out of a certain void when you're thinking of it. It came out of a void that we needed to have a certain gender parameter. We wanted to have 50-50 in the workforce. When we wanted to have much better monitoring of climate production, of protecting the environment, the thing is, we needed to make it enforceable. We needed to have some guidelines and something measurable for people to come and say, we need these parameters to have a better environment metrics. And metrics are wonderful because they help us do things. Now, the beauty is that AI is a wonderful tool. First of all, because it does something quite similarly. We're speaking on AI in health, AI in law, AI in climate. In ESG, in many ways, AI complements quite perfectly. We're able to monitor better. We're able to keep this kind of track over parameters across disciplines. There are problems with AI in plenty. This is a whole different topic for discussions. We don't need to go into this. But the beauty is, whether it's thinking on AI and transparency, AI and governance, AI in agriculture, AI is a wonderful addition to making sure that we're able to keep our ESG agenda in a way. And I think that the beauty today is that both revolutions, ESG and AI, are complemented because we are trying to bring different disciplines, different theories into one. And more importantly, we're trying to bring some measures, something concrete that we can rely on. Today, we want to have 50-50 recruit in terms of gender, ethnicity, and what's not. We want to have better monitoring of crops. AI is a great example for this. I can give you plenty of examples for AI startups in the agri-tech space that enable us, especially in Israel, enable us to do this better monitoring of the crops. CropX is a wonderful example, one of our strongest startups in the agri-tech domain. And in India, there are many as well. I think that's the beauty. AI and ESG help us turn some of this broader vision that we have for society into some measurable and concrete deliverables that we're looking into in the future. And that's something that I feel also both countries are sharing in terms of the future, the vision ahead, so that it won't remain just a vision going forward for a better society.
Thank you, Maya. It's always enriching hearing your experiences and how you connected both AI and ESG. May I now request Professor Dr. Avinash Sadich to share his remarks on this.
Oh, nowadays I'm quite confused person. When I start talking about AI in 2016 and how its relation with the law, many of my friends laughed at me. They say, "Okay, what is AI law?" Because first of all, nobody knew about AI in 2016-17 in India. Most of the people in the legal sector, and especially if no absence of the law, what is the AI law? Gradually, I started learning more, and it gives me more confusion. And nowadays, not only I am confused, I am little bit angry also. Angry because a lot of things are happening at the global level, and when you read about AI, you always get two perspectives. One is very extreme positive, the other one is extreme negative. And as a human being, we always like to try some balance. And when you are not able to find out that balance, it makes you little bit confused. And that confusion brings little bit anger. So to counter that, these two emotions, I started reading history and little bit philosophy also. So this ESG, environment, social and governance. So environment means nature, water, river, mountains, trees, air, soil. That's environment. So we didn't create environment. Environment was created. By whom? That's not our concern. But someone else created it. And that environment created people, society, the people, you and me. That's a society. And this society of the people, humans, we can say, we created G part, the governance part. We created corporations, artificial organization. So this is not the first time that we are creating something artificial. We have already created something called corporation, which is very much artificial in nature, but has legal rights and duties and enjoying a lot of power also. And under the G part, we created a lot of liberal ideas like equity, gender, all the liberal ideas we created in last 300, 400 years. So this ESG is very much in our DNA, in our society. But the first time now, the humans and corporates, one human intelligence, and the corporate, I can say it's not a human intelligence, it's a corporate intelligence. It's a non-human intelligence, which is not having that human empathy or emotions. As a corporate, if you see the structure of the corporate, they are not supposed to have empathy or emotions. The purpose of corporation by and large is to make profit. That's why we created artificial organizations called corporations. But now these two people and non-people called corporations, are creating the third artificial entity, that is the intelligence. And now how to deal with AI, how it's going to impact ESG. ESG means environment. Definitely it's a very big concern, because every time when we interact with ChatGPT, it consumes energy. Maybe we don't see it here. It's not your energy in your electricity, it's energy somewhere in the data center. And that data center is consuming water. Okay? So every time when we do something with AI, it's making some impact on environment. Every time when we develop or deploy an artificial technology, it makes positive and negative impact on us, that's society, on the people. In their body and mind and soul, it's making some impact. And finally, the third part is corporations. Corporations are also highly impacted by AI. You can see today's 100,000 people are here. Why? Do you think that they are all keen to learn about AI? 80% of them, they are here to understand that what they can take something from AI, how they can make more money, how they can make more efficiency in their business. So AI is a tool where corporates are seen as a opportunity to make money. I was talking with my friend Aisha. It's like an old days, gold rush in California. That everybody was looking for gold. So this AI summit is like an AI gold, That let's go and understand AI, how to make more money out of AI, how to make more efficiency in AI. So I think with these words I will stop, but still I am confused.
I have to leave, but thank you so much for the team for having us. Yeah, I'm glad to get to hear the insights of these people, but we'd like to connect afterwards. Thank you.
Speaking. Uh, thank you, Master, for giving us that historical perspective and how AI and ESG intersect. I think we could have, like, maybe for the next year we can have AI for ESG for AI, something like that, because it's both are like complementing or like intersecting at one point with each other. So now I move to my colleague Dr. Vinny Singh, and she's heading our AI, tech, and cybersecurity data. Anything tech, she's heading at the law school. She has been working with big corporations, training them in our executive education programs. One of our executive education student is here. Some of our LLM students are here. So I would like to hear it from Dr. Vinny Singh and what her thinking about this.
Thank you so much, Dr. Manoj. Probably what I am going to say is going to be a repetition of a lot of what the panelists already said. But then maybe I am able to offer something new. So both ESG and AI governance sort of run parallelly. There are many ways by which they intersect. Data protection being one of them. We have human rights being one of them. Then human-centered technology also is something where both of these areas intersect. On another aspect, people have been using AI tools for their ESG reporting. We have multiple tools now on the market that can do end-to-end data collection and reporting, maybe some of them by IBM, Microsoft. And these tools are wonderful, but at the same time, there is a negative impact also. Like we've looked a lot at the positive side of things, like uh, agriculture, the benefits of technology in agriculture, or the benefits of technology in waste management. Even in labor management, I would say yes, AI tools can be very beneficial. But there's a negative side also, because when you're collecting data from so many sources across the supply chain, then there is then the data is very fractured, and there's likelihood that the ESG report that we are receiving at the end as the end product is not necessarily showing us the correct picture. And that brings us to the idea that how can we ensure that we can trust this ESG report and the principles of AI governance. We come back to them again. So responsible AI or trustworthy AI comes back into picture again. So as Manoj sir just said, I mean, it's like a cycle: ESG, AI for ESG, and again for AI governance again. Um, so these are, some of those aspects. Also, I'd like to add that when we are looking at AI governance as a whole, multiple aspects of AI governance are anyway part of the governance aspect in ESG. And the same set of principles apply in both these domains. So that is obviously an overlap. And with that, I would like to end my comments. Thank you so much for listening patiently.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Vinny. While I was listening to all the esteemed panelists, I was also thinking that if we think about AI for ESG, we can fragment it into three sectors, or like I would give three divisions. So first, AI can be used for things that we have to do to meet our ESG agenda, right? So it's not just the reporting, but for example, if some of you might have heard of like removing the or combating or reducing the emissions like scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 now we are talking about. So AI can also help you in doing that, right? Just before the reporting. You want to create metrics of your organization being socially responsible, you can use AI for that. You can obviously do a lot of compliance of laws, labor laws, and various social protection laws through AI. So before you get into reporting for ESG, I think what you have to do under your ESG agenda, and I think ESG framework that is given by in India by SEBI and other regulators in foreign countries. So that's one phase, one I would say division. Secondly, it obviously everyone knows that AI is being used for ESG reporting. Whether it's a greenwashing or real actual reporting, that's a different thing. And that brings us to the third part, which is the monitoring. Now, combinedly in basically, I would say environmental ecosystem, we call it MRV, monitoring, reporting, and verification. So in third part, AI can also help you to verify the reports. For example, regulators can use AI models to use these or verify these third-party reports that third-party verifiers are doing for various organizations. So I think three categorizations are there when we look for AI for ESG in three different ways. So just wanted to add that. But again, coming back to questions to the panelists, I would like to again go back to Aisha and ask Aisha, like, how do we see that we are doing innovation when it comes to AI and we are using innovation for like AI for ESG. How can we prevent like any policy or governance fragmentation when it comes to this? Because these are both, I would say, volatile things, and both are regulated, highly going to be highly regulated. And ESG being a very big buzzword, I think we need to use AI in a very responsible manner. So, how do you think like to prevent governance fragmentation when it comes to AI for ESG?
Thank you. I think that's such a valid question because, of course, I talked about the fact that you have all of these different, geopolitical approaches. But then, of course, as humankind, we need to think and have some sort of red line, some sort of, agreement where we go forward. I think the operative word there is international standards, right? I mean, I think more and more, and I knew that it's happening also for ESG specific standards, but for policy in general, I think this is really where the discussions are now. And one of the things, this is we're talking about at the ISO, at the Sensenelec, and NIST in the United States. And there's more of a move towards sort of socio-technical standards. This is a new buzzword that's coming in again there. The socio part is also the planet and these kind of things taken account. So I think what we're seeing more and more is that people are coming to a realization we're not going to really have the same law around the world, right? That's not going to happen. But we can somehow get, and these technical, socio-technical standards as well as, are use case specific. So it's not going to be a general across the blanket, this is how we are going to look at it, but depending on the use case, depending on the topic, there are standards that are currently being, worked on, and I know that for energy, for reporting, for ESG, there's a lot of work that is being done, even in the ISO, in fact. And then the idea is for these standard organizations to talk to each other as well. And again, there was a question, I was in Davos recently, and there was big concern to say with the new geopolitical general sentiment, are these standard organizations, for example, sensitively talking to NIST or not? Because, I mean, even if that's not happening, then we're in trouble. But actually, it was very, very good to see that there is a positive momentum there, despite what is happening, because these are technical experts and they can talk to each other and they are trying to move forward. So I think that would be maybe the way forward. That we can approach this topic, and I think work is being done. And the last thing I would say apart from standards is actually technical solutions. Technical solutions will be the ones also where you use AI and you use the technical expertise, and that is something which is not necessarily having the geographical sort of geopolitical sort of sensitivities. And I do believe that even industry now is coming with many of those solutions, and those, if they share, that's the issue, it could be something, could be a way forward also to help us to steer this whole thing together into the right way that we would like to go.
I wanted to come to you and ask, like, you are from the ministry. Sorry? Yeah, we have some more time after that also. So, you've been working with the Ministry of Justice. You're also the head of technology and law division. So, how do you see like any best practices or anything that you're doing would also be beneficial for a country like India? Any regulatory approaches towards these emerging markets or to these, I would say, reporting frameworks, especially like ESG?
So I again I agree with Alicia that there's a nice article that I like that its title is "The Race for AI Regulation," right? Like there is the race for AI to get the GPUs and the talent and everything. And I think that governments around the world realize that in order to win the race, regulation is key. And I think that's why we won't see an international AI law. Now, a country like Israel, we have approximately 10 million people living in Israel. We're not, but comparing to Delhi, we're, we're a tiny market. There was if we'll do our own regulation, a specific regulation, the people in Israel will probably be avoided from AI products or AI services because no one will adjust their products and services to a specific, unique Israeli regulation. So, and that's something that we have to think about when we think about our approach. We have to think about that, and we have to think that we're a country without almost we don't have any natural resources. What we have is mainly our tech sector. That's one of our, and agriculture, of course, Victor. I'm not. So when Israel developed its regulatory approach, we have to take this into account. That's why I say we have to balance between different purposes, values, and everything. So what we've done in Israel for now is we decided that our approach to AI regulation will be sector specific. We're not going to think about it as a horizontal technology that we have to regulate. And also, I have to say that for years, you spoke about history, legislation tried to be technological neutral, right? We didn't do most countries didn't do an internet law, right? We thought about the impacts of the internet and try to deal with them. Yeah. So when we think about sector-specific regulation, is for example, I worked a lot on financial regulation. We looked at the financial regulation and we thought that is the current regulatory framework can deal with the challenges of AI, the risk of AI, but at the same time, is it a barrier to adopt AI? Because AI can contribute to the finance. So what we're thinking now is that and it's also I think it comes up in the working group of the summit. Every regulator in Israel, the instruction is to make sure that your regulation can answer the risks of AI and the risks. And there's different risks, right? If you're in finance, you can speak about social exclusion of people from the credit, like not receiving credit. Energy, environment have to think about the impact of data centers on the environment, on our energetic sustainability in Israel, and to talk with other regulators on how to preserve that. So our approach at the moment is sector specific and to use as much as we can current law. The EU, for example, maybe I'll go on to that later, but that's our approach. And what we do in terms of best practices, we try to do a couple of things. First of all, we encourage sandboxing and experimentation. I think that's, well, first, it's an advantage of Israel. We have an ecosystem, and we can do sandboxing and experiment, but that's also give me, as a lawyer or the regulator, some sense of the technology. Otherwise, we don't know, we can assume only the worst or the best, as you say, about the result of the technology. But once you see it in like real life setting, you can appreciate more what you're, so experimentation and sandboxing, that's one thing. In Israel, one of the leaders of the AI revolution is actually the government. The government adopts AI in its services, in its internal work, and I think that's leading by example. And also the government, because we're a government, we have more duties than a private company, right? In terms of administrative law and constitutional law. So when we do that and we take upon ourselves higher standards, we hope that that will lead the market. It will give also good case studies to the market. So that's in a nutshell our approach.
Thank you very much, Sudhit. I think that's also same with India. India is leading by example. So I'll see the paucity of time. I'll take one more, give one more question to Professor Victor. I just want to understand, like, as you work with AI-driven science in the agriculture sector, how do you think, like, AI-driven these, I would say, science can easily be converted into policy outcomes or easily or maybe I differ. I mean, you can also share your views on that. But how the AI-driven science can be transformed into easy ESG policy outcomes when we see, especially the agriculture sector.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about policies.
Yes.
And I think in agriculture we are quite far from that. We're not there yet. Because in agriculture we are still struggling to adapt the appropriate EI tools and appropriate EI procedures to agriculture. There are many barriers there in agriculture. The legal barrier is one of them. One of the main barriers is the data sharing. In order to do and produce AI systems and they have some meaning, you have to train them in data. In agriculture, it's very difficult to share data. Take two Indian farmers and tell them, okay, I'll give your data to your neighbor and you give your data to your neighbor. Will they share it? probably not immediately, but if you convince them that if everybody does it, then you'll have a system that has some more insights that can help all of you and the environment and the sustainability and have food security in the future, then this might work. So maybe the policies would be in how to share the data and make the IP, the intellectual property of data, more uh, basic and everybody will accept it.
Sure. The reason I ask you because we are talking like I was in a conference again, like talking about a lot of farmers. Those will be involved in like obviously for the emission reduction. Their skills will be used like for developing carbon markets. So I think that's one of the hiccups that we have, that to bring in agriculture, to bring in that sector as a part of the entire sustainability agenda, it's still struggling, especially with the technology and AI. A lot of sensitization is very important. So with that, thank you very much, fellow panelists, for your insights and answering the questions. We have some time, so we can take a few questions if you want. Please. Briefly introduce yourself and brief questions.
Thank you. Thank you to all for giving me the insights for ESG AI in AI. In this AI Impact Summit, yeah. Oh, okay. My name is Deep Malhotra. I'm an independent director from IIC
Okay.
and present working as a consultant in MSc sector. Now, I have one question. We have a AI Impact Summit, and when I was going through the corridors of ITPO, I see AI is what is meant by our Honorable Prime Minister. AI is all inclusive, and we are seeing AI as an artificial intelligence. So, as several rightly said that we are confused. So, let me please give me some insights over, and please remove my map. Yeah, certainly it is related to ISO systems and all, everything.
Like how AI can be
Yeah, yeah. More inclusivity. That's what you.
How AI can be more inclusive? That's the question.
AI is all inclusive.
Yeah.
Already inclusive.
All in, it is there, all
It's
inclusive.
impacting everyone.
Because Modi is said.
Yeah. Look one picture is there. AI all inclusive. And we are talking of artificial intelligence. What? Both are different terms. But when we talk of all inclusive, it includes AI also. So what I mean to say is that are we focusing on very small part of this summit? That we are taking only technology part, that AI is technology part, or we are trying to make more better interventions for our global as a whole.
so?
That's the thing I just want to.
Sir, please, take a seat. I'll tell you. So when we say about all inclusive, our Honorable Prime Minister is obviously very well known for giving fantastic acronyms and talking about public welfare. So when he talks about AI for the improvement of betterment of living for everyone in this country, for poverty alleviation, for infrastructural growth, for economic growth, for industrial growth. So by AI, obviously AI means artificial intelligence, but when he says about all inclusive, he means like every sector included in every last person. So that's why it's within entire.
And one thing I think I was talking with Aisha. Aisha attended AI summit in London and Paris both. And she was appreciating the fact that this is the only AI summit where the common man is being invited. Okay, London and Paris, those AI summits were very exclusive, I can say. Yeah, very elite, very high class people were only allowed to attend. I think this is the initiative of India. I think it's a great signal. Maybe little bit chaos because of that, but that's okay. That's also Indian experience, because chaos and order, it works together in India. So more than 100,000 people are attending this summit, and I believe that the AI is just like a very interesting. I think okay, just very just take a minute. In 3rd century BC, there was a very good poem written in Sanskrit about elephant in the dark room, and then Rumi also wrote the same poem in 13th century. So AI is just like an elephant in the dark room. Everybody is trying to understand. I think all these 100,000 people, will be learning something about AI, and they will develop some common understanding. Okay, what is AI for me? Okay, what is AI for a tech person, for a business guy, for a policy people, for an agriculture, for any spiritual leader? Because the previous session was about the spirituality. So I believe that this AI is for all, and AI is for inclusivity. So I think Modi ji has done good job, especially in this job. Yeah.
No, no, it's a fantastic question, and I think that this is really going to the geopolitics of all. I mean, I think the kind of elephant in the room we all know as well, right? I mean, we are at a very crucial time right now where there are certain players in this world who are going another way. And somehow I think we are at a place where we need to decide what we have to do about it. I think one of the things, as you probably understand as well, the United States is also pushing for is to having more data centers, more development of AI outside of, which will be maybe in Africa, and of course that is going to have an impact with regards to the resource constraints you're talking about in places where we today actually don't even have access to water, and we are like trying to solve those issues. So I think in the United States, we have seen already a backlash on that. We have been having, states that are saying, please hold on, because our electricity costs, our water bills are going off the roof, and we don't want to have more data centers here, and we need to stop that. I think it starts with awareness, and then again, we need to all be aware of this impact. We need to raise awareness of the common, and I think here it's not just about the common man, but about the politicians, about the government officials, who are the ones ultimately who will be letting all of that in. And again, it's going to be at every single local level a question of trade-off. So there is going to be a trade-off, because on the one hand, I would say that in agriculture is probably one of the places where we have the most impact, and health is another one with most impact for AI. But then how we go about it and what is the pace of that deployment is what is going to be very, very important, because we do need to think about our planet and the people that live in there, and maybe just this fast moving thing and short-term gains is not in the best interest. So I think it starts with awareness, and then it starts with putting some brakes and sort of reflecting. Do you do that through policy, or do you do that just by awareness building of the common citizens? And I think places like this, where we can openly discuss it, and I'm in Switzerland, where it's a very neutral environment to bring out these and actually build bridges with even those maybe who are not necessarily thinking the same way with us. And I think it's in each of our interests to do that. And we are all should be empowered to have those discussions. And I'm really personally very, very passionate about that, to play a role there. So that's what I'd say.
If I can quickly add to what Among asked, while we talking about technology, development, and this thing and that thing, there are a few concepts as lawyers, because we are lawyers, we should think about, because when this debate goes geopolitical, and I come from an intergovernmental multilateral background, always the Indian inside me jumps up with the concept, the principle of right to development, climate justice, common but differentiated responsibilities, and respective capabilities. Victor, we'll catch up with you. Thank you so much, Victor. Thank you. Thank you. We need to also think about these, and when we are like into debates, into conversation with our counterparts abroad, when we are building a project. For example, we work with Vara, like the university, so the world's biggest carbon developer, and India's like world second, and India's first one. We talk a lot with them, like how we are going to increase the income of smallholder farmers. We have partnered with the government of Assam. And now we are looking at a model where the Assam tea farmers will be utilized, how we can increase their income through carbon markets. So internally, we have to think about that. But when it comes to external debates, I mean, as a lawyer, I think our duty is to like obviously bring on these concepts because these are very important. We are a country which is just 70 years old in terms of country concept. Yeah. Yeah.
All I'm saying is that the regulations around sustainability of any business is now very limited.
Yes.
And we can't start with not considering it and later, as she said, US is revolting on.
I'll tell you an interesting point on that. We, just from data, I'll tell you.
So my dear, you need to understand that we are already in a different world. Okay, so the easiest solution is the community engagement. If you believe that we need to raise some voice, we need to go back to the people. Somehow, no, my dear, you need to understand. No, no, not misunderstand. Absolutely.
The ESG word, the whole industry development, the reporting compliance requirement from businesses, and AI being a kind of business, where am I questioning the nationality or our right to development or circularity or resources? I am saying when we made reporting requirement mandatory, now that the Kyoto Protocols, the environment treaties, whole lot of things centered to Kyoto. 1919 we made International Labour Organization. So what I'm saying is when we start something new and as it is evolving, we should integrate these concerns and plan for it now. Nowhere is the question that
No, no, that's good, but
we should do it.
yeah, no,
I'm not
absolutely,
saying
absolutely.
we should.
No, no, absolutely. But the point is, the politician at the top level, they are seeing this thing in a very different manner
I'm
right
talking
now.
global. I'm part of BRICS.
No,
Business
global
Council.
also the same
Our
situation right
Business
now.
Council of BRICS I'm part of. We are talking at global level. I'm not even talking about Indian regulations. I'm talking about a global where no borders are relevant with technology, no laws across the globe apply. All I'm saying is that it needs to be there.
Yes, it
I'm
is.
not questioning EU or India. I am saying up at the
At the
while
global
we're thinking
level.
of making data centers at Mars, I mean, are we saying that? I mean, I don't know. I think you have misinterpreted it.
No, 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 not at all.
Actually, I agree with what you are
We are
saying.
agreeing with you.
5 years of
No, sometimes it happens with lawyers when someone says, I agree with you, they say, no, no, still, you are not understanding. We are completely agreement with you that we need global standards, because these technologies are beyond boundaries. You know, what is happening in one country is definitely impacting everywhere. Yeah.
Earlier regulations need to match into pace with the current requirements of AI and ESG in the industry. Otherwise, there will be confusion and litigation. So why are we looking for? So the government says this is a governance responsibility. Here in this summit, we need to be able to resolve this when we're talking. I assume that someone is listening to us.
No, no, absolutely. Yeah.
So if we don't know, we are from industry. So I'm not a lawyer, but I am from the whole industrial strategy. And I'm an advisor to all the companies in this side. So I do feel what you said is correct. And what we need in our industry also is how do we approach the legal issues that we will be facing? What are the expectations of the farmers, provisions that are coming up in 2030? How are we supposed to be dealing with that? Are we ready for it?
Absolutely, and I think this is great. What you're saying is very much what I was trying to say as well. I think whilst we will not say, just to answer the global thing, right? I mean, I think whilst I don't think we're going to see something at a very global level, like a alignment, again, because of what I said, the geopolitics. However, more and more we're seeing sort of region-specific approaches coming, right, for policy. So certain countries getting together and saying, look, you know what, this is how we believe, this is how we're going to approach it. We're seeing it in Asia, we're seeing it in Africa, we're probably going to see it, you know, we're working about BRICS or some others. And I think this is the way to move forward. And I think in order to do that, it's about just finding another country which thinks like you, or two or three or four getting together. And we had this discussion recently, and that's the way to go. And it's the, how did we say, the alignment of the few, or, you know, what is the name that even President Macron came with in another contest in security? But it's about, you know, the coalition of the few of the willing, right? And here it will be the coalition of the willing for specifically this. And I think it's us, we can do that, and industry has a big role to play to bring that forward, to bring the issue forward to the regulators, to our politicians, and say, let's have a coalition of the willing to basically protect our planet. And I think this is what we have to do, and that's the way forward. Okay?
One last question. We can have more discussion offline, I think, outside. So I think we will stop here, or okay, last question.
Yeah, my only point is that now, you know that oil rich countries have been richer, or they have been richer countries. So data is a new oil, that's what we see. And as also, the suggestion all of the countries are making data centers. The US started making data centers. India has a, they've got 100 billion. Microsoft, we are making in Hyderabad. So where is the ESG, compliance coming up? Because as we all know, the data centers are, turning a lot of energy. They are getting a lot of energy for running the data centers. So ESG, where it is being compliant or not compliant, and how AI can help in that direction. Because you also said we need ESG for AI. So I think that's a very perfect example of that. So my point is, before we are starting any project of data centers and all, are we taking consideration of the ESGs? Because we do EIA, economic impact analysis. What about the ESG part of it?
So that's a very growing conversation. Firstly, we need to understand, because data centers are looked at from an environmental perspective. Now, ESG is not just environment. S is, I feel S is the biggest component in ESG, and obviously G is also important. So there's a conversation that I've started on these data centers, how they can be, like the carbon can be offsetted. So that's a debate to go towards, or like a point to understand carbon markets, right? That how they're offsetting. Now there's a debate again in offsetting and insetting. Insetting is like reducing your emissions right at the center where your emissions are happening, and also taking measures. Now what a lot of companies have done, and it's also greenwashing, that without even reducing your emission, without even putting any effort in reducing your emissions, they do offsetting. So that's, I would say, greenwashing, right? Because you don't, and that's what your ESG efforts are, that under your E part, you didn't attempted like to reduce your water consumption, your energy consumption, or like to reduce your scope 1, scope 2, and now scope 3 emissions. So yes, there's a growing conversation, but and since data centers are going to be so important, so I think with this kind of session and with this kind of dialogue, I think we can create this conversation more relevant, and before it gets too late, very practical. Thank you very much, everyone, and thanks to the audience for this engaging conversation. Thank you, India AI team, for all the coordination, though you forgot my name, but